Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends. We got more Core Set 2019 previews to take a look at today. Some more information coming out of Grand Prix Las Vegas. We got to look at the rest of the Planeswalker deck Planeswalkers. So we'll go over those, and there's also a number of other cards. Some exclusive to the Planeswalker decks, but most are actually in the regular set as well. So, let's get into it. Now, the other day, we saw these two, Tezzeret Cruel Machinist, as well as Liliana the Necromancer. And we talked about them in a separate video, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them today. One thing I do want to point out, though, in the video the other day, we couldn't see their loyalty. So now we know that they are each 4 loyalty. I guess Tezzeret would be around 5 and Liliana around 4. Turns out they're both at 4. But aside from these cards, which we already saw, we got a whole bunch of new stuff to look at. The first card is actually in the Tezzeret Planeswalker deck. It's Tezzeret Strider. It costs 3. It's an artifact creature golem, uncommon 3/1. As long as you control a Tezzeret Planeswalker, Tezzeret Strider has Menace. Nothing crazy here, but it is the card that's going to go alongside not only the Tezzeret we just saw, but really any Tezzeret Planeswalker if you decide to mix and match. But on its own, of course, it's not very impressive. We also got to look at 2 more cards that would be exclusive just to Liliana's deck. Arisen Gorgon's the first one, 2 black and 1 zombie Gorgon. It's uncommon 3/3. It will have Death Touch as long as you control a Liliana Planeswalker. It can be any one. Liliana Spoils, a black and 3 sorcery rare. Target opponent discards a card. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a black card from among them, put it into your hands, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Much like past Planeswalker deck exclusive cards, these really aren't designed with the power level of, say, Standard in mind, even though they are Standard legal technically. They really are for casual play, and these are fine casual cards. Like, they're going to be good if you're just sitting at the kitchen table, playing maybe with these decks against each other, or just throwing them maybe in a casual deck or commander deck. They'll be just fine for you. The Gorgon's actually pretty decent if it has Death Touch. I mean, granted, that's a pretty big if because it has to have a Liliana, but for 3 mana, that's really not that bad. And also, if you're in a mono black deck, the Spoils isn't the worst card in the world either. Okay, let's move on to some Planeswalker deck Planeswalkers that we have not yet seen, beginning with a Johnny Wise Counselor. This is going to cost 2 white and 3, Legendary Planeswalker Ajani, Mythic, 5 loyalty. +2, you gain 1 life for each creature you control. -3, creatures you control get +2/+2 till end of turn. -9, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature where X is your life total. Now, another card that obviously is not meant to be spiky competitive, but it's fine for casual play. I would consider playing this maybe in like a Selesnya Go Wide or Token deck in Commander. I like the -9 there because you could have more of a life total to play around with in Commander. However, keep in mind dumping all your resources onto one creature probably isn't the best idea in most cases either. The -3 is great if you have a Go Wide scenario, but especially if you have some trample or flying or something like that. If you don't have those things, though, all 3 abilities kind of feel lacking. You just need creatures to really make this card do much. If you don't have creatures, it's just not very impressive. If you're behind after a board sweep or something, this is not the card you want to draw. And for a 5 casting cost Planeswalker, that's not a great thing. Is it playable, like I said, in certain builds? Absolutely. There are times I actually would want to try this out and just kind of see how it plays. But it is for very specific strategies. Court Cleric is an exclusive card that's in the deck that you won't find in the regular set. That costs 1 white. It's a human cleric, lifelink 1/1. It's an uncommon. And this will get +1/+1 as long as you control an Ajani Planeswalker. And again, that can be anyone. Here's our next Planeswalker deck Planeswalker. It's Sarkhan Dragonsoul. 2 red and 4, Legendary Planeswalker Sarkhan Mythic, 5 loyalty +2. And this will deal 1 damage to each opponent and each creature your opponents control. -3, this will deal 4 damage to target player or Planeswalker. -9, search your library for any number of dragon creature cards, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library. Again, this feels kind of niche to me. Like, I feel like maybe in a tribal dragon deck, I might want to play this. Other than that, it's not super impressive. The +2 feels a little underwhelming, although it could make combat difficult for your opponents at times, and I don't hate that. Plus, you're getting the 2 loyalty. The -3, I feels a little underwhelming. I wish it could hit a creature. Even if it was less damage, like 3 damage, I would have been fine with that. And I would like something that gives this a little more consistency. Unfortunately, that -3 kind of misses the mark there. Now, granted, at times going to the face or to a Planeswalker will be very relevant, but it doesn't feel as good as it maybe could have been. And like I said, the -9 might work out for you in a casual dragon deck. If I'm playing something a little more competitive, though, even in Commander, I don't know if I'm running this. There's just a lot of other great options in those type of decks. Now to the right, you see another one of the exclusive Planeswalker Deck Planeswalker cards. This is Sarkhan's Whelp. It costs a red and 2. It's a dragon uncommon 2/2 with flying. Whenever you activate an ability of a Sarkhan Planeswalker, Sarkhan's Whelp deals 1 damage to any target. Again, feels a little underwhelming. At least it has flying, though, for 3. A 2/2 flyer for 3 actually isn't bad sometimes in casual formats. This will be just serviceable if you're playing against another one of the Planeswalker decks, for example. Okay, our last one, Vivien of the Arkbow. 2 green and 4, legendary Planeswalker. It's Vivien, she's back again. But again, this is a mythic, 5 loyalty plus 2. Put 2+1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. -3. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. -9. Creatures you control get +4/+4 and gain trample until end of turn. Much like a Johnny, my problem with her is simply if I don't have any creatures, I'm just drawing a 6 casting cost Planeswalker now that's not doing a whole lot for me. That doesn't feel good. The +2 ability is just fine some of the time, but again, if you don't have a good payout, like a creature with evasion, or maybe a creature that's going to be able to defend you well or something like that, it doesn't do a whole lot other than add loyalty to Vivien, which is not nothing. The -3 is good in a way because it does create a situation where she might be able to protect herself. But again, you need a creature to make that happen, and a creature big enough to actually deal with the threat you need to deal with. The -9, great finisher actually, but again, I just have to have the creatures to back it up. I might try this in a commander like Selesnya token build or something like that, much like I said with a Johnny. It could be kind of fun to see what happens, but again, you might have more economical cards in those builds too. Vivien's Jaguar is right next to her to the right. Of course, you'll find her in her deck only. Green and 2, Cat Spirit. This is an uncommon 3/2 with reach. Pay a green and 2, return this from your graveyard to your hands. Activate this ability only if you control a Vivien Planeswalker. It's going to trade down a lot of the time, although it does deal with pesky flyers. That's good. And if Vivien comes out and she doesn't have a creature and this is in the graveyard, at least it gives you some kind of option for 6 mana to get something into play. I'll give it that. But again, nothing too exciting here. Okay, let's move on to cards that are actually in the set proper. Now, these first 3 cards were kind of revealed early because they showed up in some Dominaria booster packs. We talked about them a few weeks ago, so I won't spend a lot of time on them, but they have been officially confirmed by Wizards now. Dwindle, Scholar of Stars, and Sky Scanner are all in the set. Next card we haven't seen yet is Cavalry Drillmaster. This is a white and 1 Human Knight common 2/1. When this enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. I actually kind of like this for Sealed in Draft. It's not bad because as much as I rather have a 2/2 for 2 with some sort of ability, a 2/1 for 2 is serviceable. It's going to give me a little bit of presence on the board early if I need it, but later if I draw it, that ability to buff something and give it first strike for a turn might actually create a situation from time to time where my opponent has to chump block or take some extra damage. So it's pretty decent early. It's decent late. It might not always make your cut, but I don't think it's that bad. Exclusion Mage. This is a blue and 2 human wizard uncommon 2/2. When this enters the battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Basically, you're looking at a human wizard mana war with one big difference though. It can only bounce creatures that your opponents control. So you can't bounce your own stuff, and that is a drawback compared to Mana War, because many times with Mana War, you could enjoy that versatility by bouncing something of yours that maybe perhaps had a enchantment on it that was a pacifism style effect, or maybe it had a good enters battlefield effect and you wanted to cast it again, something along those lines. You don't have that option this time around. However, you're still getting a nice little tempo swing here, putting a 2/2 in play for 3, and bouncing your opponent's best thing. That's definitely not bad in limited. This could be a pretty high draft pick, as a matter of fact, in a lot of packs. Gearsmith Prodigy. 1 blue, human artificer, common 1/2. This will get +1/+0 as long as you control an artifact. Now, we haven't seen a lot of the artifacts quite yet, so it's really hard to judge a card like this. All I know is a 1-drop 2/2 at best doesn't necessarily feel amazing to me, considering, again, that I have to have an artifact at play to even make that a thing. Other than that, it's going to be a 1/2. Yeah, it's fine probably in those type of builds if there's other synergies we're not aware of, but on its own, it just doesn't feel very exciting. Skilled Animator. This is a blue and 2 human artificer uncommon 1/3. And when Skilled Animator enters the battlefield, target creature you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 5/5 for as long as Skilled Animator remains on the battlefield. This actually does not feel bad to me as long as I have the artifacts to back it up for sealed and draft. Because think of it this way, and who knows, maybe if there's good enough targets, maybe standard. But I don't want to get there quite yet until I see more stuff. Now, here's what I like about the card. If I put this into play and there's an artifact in play, I'm actually getting 6-8 power toughness on the battlefield at that moment. That's kind of crazy for just 3 mana. Now, it would be better if maybe Ornithopter was in the set or something like that, where I could put it on something with flying. That could be interesting. Or even Darksteel Citadel. I wonder if they're going to reprint those. We just don't know yet. If they do reprint or create something that's similar, then this card actually could be really good and could combo well within draft especially, but even sealed. So this is definitely one to watch. We'll have to kind of see what else is in the set that plays well with this. Abnormal Endurance, a black and 1 instant common. Until end of turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains when this creature dies. Return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Fine combat trick for limited, not much more to say about it. You might not always play this. If you have better straight out removal spells, it might not make your cut, but a lot of the time you'll run one of these and be happy with it. Blood Divination. This is a black and 3 sorcery uncommon. As an additional cost to cast, you do have to sacrifice a creature, but you get to draw 3 cards. Again, in limited, I'd play this. It's sorcery speed, not instant. That will keep it out of standard and things of that nature probably, but for the most part, sacking a small creature like a 2/2 I played early on in the game that's not relevant anymore. So it is putting me up a card, because remember, I'm using this card and I'm sacrificing a card to get 3 cards. So it's not amazing economy, but it's not bad. Thud. I like that name. Real simple. It's a 1 red sorcery uncommon. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. Thud deals damage equal to the sacrificed creature's power to any target. I kind of wonder if we're going to see like a black-red aristocrat style thing going on in this set. I guess we'll see as we get more cards. But this on its own is actually interesting because it's a sorcery speed fling and it costs 1 less. So you take away the generic mana, you slow it down a little bit. Is it a bad card now? No, I don't think it's a bad card. It's probably not as good as fling. It takes away the defensive ability that fling has and just makes it the offensive version of fling a little bit cheaper. That's not necessarily a bad thing though, because simply a lot of times you could attack in with a large creature with trample or something and then finish them off with a thud, just like you've done probably many times with fling. Again, the lack of versatility might hurt it a little bit, but I do like the fact that it only costs 1. That's actually pretty sweet. Viashino Pyromancer. This is a red and 1, and it's a Viashino wizard, common 2/1. When this enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to target player or planeswalker. This one's not too exciting to me. I mean, I'd rather play a 2/2 for 2 with a better ability, because I feel like we'll probably see those in the set. And being able to only hit the player or planeswalker for 2, it just doesn't feel like enough for me. I think in most cases, if this had something else like haste or something, that'd be a little bit different. But the way it stands right now, I don't see myself running this all that often. Colossal Majesty. This is a green and 2 enchantment uncommon at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Ouch, okay. Not a big fan of enchantments that come in and do absolutely nothing. This one costs you 3. It doesn't do anything to the beginning of your upkeep. And even then it might not do anything. It just depends on your board state. Yikes. I don't see myself playing this very often. Now, in sealed, maybe more so than draft. I don't know. Perhaps if I have a lot of large creatures and I feel like this is the only way I have to move through my deck, then maybe I just go for it. It's not unplayable, but I don't think it makes your cut a lot of the time. Declare Dominance. 2 green and 3. It's a sorcery uncommon. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. All creatures able to block it this turn do so. I like this not just because of the +3/+3 deal, but because it has lure built into it for a turn. So if I lure something, that means everything's blocking it, and those things for the most part can't block other things. Sometimes that's game winning, especially in a board stall. This will be very, very runnable in draft and sealed. I'll be happy to pick one of these up, no doubt. Now the +3/+3, they'll be relevant sometimes too, maybe on a trample creature or something like that in green. But I'm probably playing this first and foremost for that lore ability. Gearsmith Guardian. 5 casting cost, artifact creature construct, common 3/5. Now this will get +2/+0 as long as you control blue creatures. So there's definitely synergy between blue and artifacts we're seeing here. Now, is it that exciting though? It's a conditional 5/5 for 5. Not awesome. I would say if I have a lot of artifact synergies, there's probably some reasons that I might want to play this, and I guess we'll see more as the set comes out. But for right now, this card feels a little underwhelming. Meteor Golem. This costs 7. It's a golem, uncommon 3/3. When this enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls. You know, if you don't have the removal that you want, this is maybe the removal that you need, right? In draft and sealed anyway. Like, it's 7 casting cost. It fits into any build. It's colorless. So, yeah, I see myself running this probably more often than I want to. But it's going to be just fine when you need it. I like that it hits anything other than lands, too. That's kind of good because it's not just your opponent's creatures. It's really non-land permanent. So it does open up some versatility, too. Especially if you have a problematic card like an enchantment or something on the other side of the table that you didn't plan for. You could always sideboard this in if you didn't main deck it. Okay, the next group of cards are actually all reprints, so I won't spend a lot of time on them. You're probably pretty familiar with most of these. The first one is a Johnny's Pridemate, so that's back. Reassembling Skeleton is back, because it's Reassembling Skeleton, right? Am I right? Act of Treason. So Act of Treason is a nice reprint here because we just saw Thud, for example, and it appears there's other cards that are allowing you to sacrifice creatures, and that's always a good combo and limited with Act of Treason. Druid of the Cowl. Yeah, it's a little mana dork, like not as good as Llanowar Elves or anything, but very playable and limited, no doubt. Reclamation Sage. Awesome reprint here. This card just spiked. So a lot of people sometimes think that stores have the inside track as to what cards are being reprinted. Well, if they do, someone missed a memo because this card spiked pretty heavily in the last about 48 hours or so. And then there you go. Wizards got ahead of this one. Kudos to them. But it's a great modern card. It's a good legacy card, too. You see this out of sideboards all the time. This will be standard playable out of boards as well. Field Creeper. Just a little artifact creature that's reprinted here that I have no doubt has to do with the synergies we've been seeing. Again, how good is it? Just depends on what cards are around it that we haven't seen yet. Alright, that's what we know right now, and a lot of stuff coming out of Las Vegas. The set's looking more and more interesting, and I'm still looking forward to the next couple weeks where we get to see more of the rares and mythics. That's what I'm really interested in at this point. Even though we've seen a lot of cards, we really haven't seen that many rare and mythic rares. So I'm looking forward to kind of see the set take shape around those a little more. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.